And probably if you have any query, you notice it, you discover me, that's the big if. I don't know, I have never done it before. And that is unscheduled live is a first time thing. But in case if someone discovers me in this particular feed and want to talk about project management, PMP certification, or any other query which I can assist, I will be happy to take your questions and we will talk about that. So I'm Saket Bansal and I'm hoping that there will be people who can discover this feed and will show up here and then we'll talk. Yeah, that's something, the plan. So let's see what is happening here. So I see at least one person discovering me. Yeah, it's just a random live. In case you have any query related to project management or PMP, we can talk. I am your host here. And some of you who are following our Eyes and Bridge channel, you know we are into project management, talk about scaled agile framework. We talk a lot about PMP certification. You might be following some of our videos, questions on PMP. So if that's all holds true for you, if you have any query for me, do let me know. Yeah, we can discuss it here. You can type your query. Hopefully it will reach me and we will start discussing. Yeah. So yes, even if you say hi, I will know that messages are coming. That's a good idea. So sending hi is also a good idea. Okay, hello sir, no question from my side. Thank you. Thank you for just putting a message. So I know this is how it works. Yeah. Okay, Noor. Hi, Noor. Good to see you. You always support me when I go for these random things. Yeah, to bring interesting questions. Yeah. So, how to respond to a question? Why do project fails? Someone can say we can talk about theory. One possibility is we can give some reference to some of the articles. Yeah, there are articles talking about project failures. But I personally believe project fails when we stop engaging with stakeholders, when we don't have a transparency about it, because we are unable to fix it. So whenever majorly, I personally believe it is because of poor stakeholder engagement, but there could be something you will find in the research where they will put out some set of reasons of frequent project failures. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yeah. Thank you for your kind messages. Okay, Tarun has interesting question. So only one thing, why in PMP questions, two answers are very close. So I see, Tarun, that is my try when I make a PMP question. I have been making for you all. I think we are already around 120. I try to create two questions which are close, yeah, options which are very close. That's my goal is. I try to create all relevant options. I don't want to create any irrelevant option which can be outrightly rejected. That is my try. Sometimes you find that there are a lot of irrelevant options, but I try to do that. I personally believe this is I am doing it, and similarly the PMI do it just to see the depth of project management knowledge, because the depth starts coming in when you have a thin line between A and B, and if you can find out as a good project manager which one you have to take, then I know that you have a skills to get certified. If you are still getting confused and getting diverted to a wrong option, then we know that okay, I need to do still sharpening of my axis. That's something I can say here, and yeah, that's what I believe is relevant here. Yeah, but keep trying. My recommendation, some of you might be following our community post where we put poll format questions and you can get the answer quickly. But do watch, if you have a time, our explanation videos. Yeah, because our explanation videos will help you to know why a particular question is having particular answer, because just knowing the answer is not enough. We need to know the reason behind the answer. Yeah, that is something is important. Yeah. What is the difference between disciplined agile scrum and normal scrum? Implementing disciplined agile will take huge budget. So I would say, Noor, the budget depends upon who is your consulting company and what they want to charge you. Yeah, yeah. So that is the whole idea. And now, and what is the difference between Scrum and disciplined Agile Scrum? I think more or less the same. Yeah, it is the disciplined Agile Scrum gives you a direct customization. It says you can customize from the beginning itself. Normal scrums tell you that you can do customization as you go along. There are some fine grained difference. In a disciplined agile, we also have a role called architect owner. Like at a team level, you can have a technology owner also. In case of general scrum, we don't have that role. But I would say these are very fine grained minor differences. And the only philosophical thing is the disciplined agile says that you can start adapting. You don't have to stick to scrum roles and scrum way of working. You can take some ideas which you like from scrum and then you can ignore others. That's the disciplined agile. Yeah. Now implementation, ideally disciplined agile should be implemented by yourself, but if you hire a consulting company they will ask money. That's the only thing. Yeah. Good, Tarun. Nice. You found our content useful. So I see a question. Can you make some questions on Agile? So Dave, we do have a 50 questions on Agile. Please do try them out. Yeah, they are available on our YouTube channel. They will make your Agile understanding good. In our current series of questions, which are we are running, I am adding in between Agile question, but I take your feedback. The next lot I will dedicate on Agile. Yeah. So, but I'm mixing. We have a 50 questions also, but next lot is like next 5-10 questions. I think I have already made till 125 in my library. So next 10, 126 to 135, Agile. Yeah, so that I'll do. Okay. Okay. So that's a good idea. Now there is a question. When is your next PMP training scheduled? I think it's on 10th March around. We are starting a weekend batch. So that is something you can try it out. And then in April, we will have a Indian morning and US evening batch, yeah, weekdays one. So weekend batch is pretty comfortable because it is done in such a way. So Europe, US and India all can join in. So you may want to check it out. If you can't find it, drop a message to us. We'll support you. Yeah. So that's the way. Thank you for asking. Okay, we have a question. So what is the basic requirement for implementing digital transformation? What is transition? What is transformation? So usually moving from A state to B state, sometimes called transition. And if you do a drastic change, it is called transformation. So for example, you can say I'm using some A and I want to move from system A to system B. That kind of change is called transition. When we say that we want to do a overall format of the way we operate, the way we report to each other, that we call transformation. So big change, people talk about that, which change the culture itself, which changed from various aspects of the organizations are getting changed. Say you were focusing on the roles, structures, responsibility, the way you report to each other, the way the performance is getting measured, the way we do business, the type of product we sell, all things are getting impacted. That kind of thing is called transformation. And usually when these kind of transformations are done towards the digitization space, they are called digital transformation. So it's automation, bringing a lot of new ways technologies into account, that will become a digital transformation. Yeah. So crystal method, Dave, please don't worry about it. PMI is not going to ask about it, and nobody in your interview is going to ask about it. It's a one of the flavor of agile, which is more focusing on collaborative working. That's it. Yeah. If you know this much information, you are good. You don't need anything other than that. Yeah. Okay. So I had a question, but the message got retract. Yeah. So Tarun's question is that now my next problem is using the management budget if we are over budget in the project. So see, please keep in mind, this concept is more relevant for predictive life cycle. In adaptive life cycle, we are not too much worried about budget. And we understand the budget is a critical element to watch for when we are going for predictive life cycle. That's the first information to start with. The second one, as a project manager, I have my baseline budget already with me. Now, what is baseline? Based on activity level budgeting, I aggregated WBS level budgeting, I added contingency there, I looked at overall risk, uncertainty, I did a reserve analysis, and I added contingency on top of it. After doing all these contingency and planning, I the budget. Yeah, that is my budget. Now, if I am running the budget with under these contingencies and running the project, I can take care of those decisions myself. But now, what is a management budget? Management reserve on top of my baseline, my portfolio group, my management might have reserved some money out of their annual budget, which they are not using for other purposes. Yeah, that is called management reserve. I might be aware of it. I know how much money is there, but I can't just take it myself. Yeah, it is not with me. It is not expected to be given to me in a good situation. It is only expected to be given to me when management is convinced to give it to me. So I need to go through a request process, which is usually associated with change control process. So I will raise a change request, follow the change control process, and then only I will get it. Yeah, that is something we need to focus on. Okay. So I see there is a question coming in, and I think you are probably reframing it. Can the agile team, Scrum team will be involved in doing product discovery or a product requirement discovery? The answer is why not? Not only Scrum team, a waterfall team can also be involved. So it depends upon what kind of product we are working and what kind of team member we have. The more involvement and engagement we have, the better it is. So if I'm thinking about project management, product management, the more people I involve in doing such kind of discovery activity, the better it is. Yeah. So as a project manager, remind my product people, maybe that is product owner or that's a product management, whatever it is, to engage more and more people so that they have a common understanding about the goal of our work. Yeah. Okay. So, sir, how do we make a decision on what to update on a stakeholder register and when to update stakeholder engagement metrics? Stakeholder engagement assessment matrix is not necessarily a tool which you maintain as an artifact. It is not necessary. It is a tool to apply a technique and to discover how do we engage with the stakeholders. I know some of the test questions talks about you will show stakeholder engagement metrics or you will document in a stakeholder engagement metrics, but we should always think stakeholder engagement metrics as a discovery tool. And we don't even want to name people on stakeholder engagement assessment metrics. Even in a PMI official content, they tell the stakeholder engagement metrics, the stakeholder should be identified based on IDs or codes because it's a sensitive information. If people come to know that you are considering me resistive, then I will feel very bad about it. So it is something which is confidentially kept and it is basically used to brainstorm the output of stakeholder engagement assessment metrics, stakeholder engagement plan that is available to everyone. Yeah. So I will. So what is the goal of stakeholder engagement assessment metrics? Just to see where my current stakeholder engagement level is, so that I out his new level of engagement. Yeah, that's when I'm doing that brainstorming, I use that tool. Now, what is a stakeholder register? Stakeholder register basically focuses on identifying stakeholders. That's it. Now, some of the template you see of a stakeholder register where assessment information is also given. You tell that inside the stakeholder register, you say this guy is a supportive guy, this guy is champion guy. In a real world, that is not going to happen, and you can ignore that information. You can say that in a stakeholder register, I may have just information about who wants to get connected. I have identification information and I have details, not my judgment of their assessment. So I will never update stakeholder assessments in a stakeholder register. Now, stakeholder assessments, I probably not necessarily document it. I can brainstorm about it, yeah, where they are. And based on that, I will focus on taking it forward and create a stakeholder engagement plan. Now, when I say that which documents say use a categorization of stakeholder, categorization is a one thing. Now, what is categorization? When we have so many stakeholders, I always want to have some grouping of it. So as a project manager, whenever I have a lot of items, be it issue, be it risk, be it anything, I want to put a category around it. Yeah. So the stakeholder categorization should be considered more like senior management group, HR group, vendor group, customer group, rather than thinking of stakeholder category as resistor group, supportive group, leader group. Don't think like that. So we can definitely put categorization of stakeholder as per their department, as per their group, as per their say authority level or their type of grouping in a stakeholder register. So I define, categorize, talk about their email ID, talk about their phone, talk about their expectation, talk about their communication expectation, preferences, all those identification information I put in a stakeholder register. Now, after that, I take a stakeholder register in a closed door conversation and I brainstorm with some few people and try to see what these guys are doing. What is their engagement level? So we may prepare a stakeholder engagement assessment matrix in that closed door conversation and we use it so that we can figure it out which stakeholder should be dealt how. We may say, oh, this stakeholder is not giving us time. We need to do an escalation. Okay. This stakeholder will give us a time provided we recognize him as a champion. So that is something we are finalizing in that closed door meeting. Now, what do we do with this finalization? We put it into a stakeholder engagement plan. We can say, okay, action item is this guy should be declared as a champion and we should engage with him. This guy should be engaged with his boss. We need to get an email from his boss so that this guy will engage with us. That is your stakeholder engagement plan. Yeah. In between, the stakeholder assessment matrix came to facilitate you to come to the stakeholder engagement plan. Yeah. Hopefully that clarifies the whole process. Yeah. So whenever the new stakeholder get identified, most likely you just need to put into a stakeholder register. You don't have to raise a change request because stakeholder register first is a document. It's a project document. It's not a project management plan. And most of the project documents like risk register, like issue log, they just running. Yeah. So if you have a new stakeholder, you update the stakeholder register. You don't need to take a change request. Now, if this new stakeholder is selling, change the requirement, then I need to worry about it. Or this new stakeholder tells, you need to change the budget which we have done. Then I need to consider the change request. Or if this new stakeholder should demand something. Just for identifying a new stakeholder, I don't have to do a change request. Yeah. So video, you need to check it out. I think we should have some stakeholder thing. Engage stakeholders. I think we have. Yeah. So we have a task related to people domain task about engage stakeholder. And for that, I think we have a video. Yeah. You can see it in our Eisenbridge website. That domain task is there. Yeah. Okay. Noor, in my previous company, project management process, the stakeholder usually use two terms. Can you tell me what is the difference between inception phase and discovery phase? I believe, Noor, they are same. Yeah, they are same. Inception is more like Discipline Agile used to do. Inception is basically coming from RUP, Rational Unified Processes, the IBM thing which became. And RUP has a foundation as a Discipline Agile because the people who were behind RUP, they became little bit Discipline Agile. So that's the source coming in. Discovery process is usually coming from general terms, design thinking, general waterfall. We need to do a discovery. Yeah. So, but usually, if you literally say the discovery is more associated with discovering the requirement and expectation, inception can have a multiple goals. It also come up with setting up the team, setting up the infrastructure and all. So literally speaking, they both mean the same thing in the organization. But if you say that usually discovery talks about just doing feasibility and understanding of it, inception as a word talks about getting ready to get started. Yeah. So it may also talk about getting team ready, getting licenses made, and all those initial infrastructure ready for the work. But in the general term, I think people use it interchangeably. Will this video be available after the session for the reference? I wish. Yes, yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, that's how I'm using this tool first time. This is a vertical live. I was in a city, Hyderabad, and I just finished one training. So I had some time. So I thought, why don't we try it out? So I just went live. It should be there. It should be available after this live gets end. So can we say a critical path method is basically used to predict the time for completing the project? Perfectly, yes. It is basically used to predict the time of milestones and completion. And we are trying to figure it out when we are going to finish it. Like our classroom example, if you want to predict how long it will take to finish the dinner, you use a critical path because you are sequencing activities. Some activities are happening in parallel, but in order to predict the overall time, you need to see what is the sequence of those activities. Yeah. Okay, so looks like some of you had nice queries, and I know it's a random live. I have not scheduled it, so whoever came asked question, thank you. Even I was just playing and experimenting with the tool. And if you have some more, I'm here. I just have to go for a dinner after some time. That's it. I'm waiting. Great, great. Thank you, Tarun. Yeah. Okay. Can you please explain about traceability metrics? So, Rupesh, this is an important topic, and I understand many a times when I talk to my non-IT people, they get confused about this traceability metrics. Yeah. So we can say this term is called requirement traceability matrix. That's the word. Yeah, that's a full word. Now let's start from understanding it. This is basically used in predictive lifecycle majorly. Yeah, it can be used in hybrid and agile, but the whole design is for a predictive lifecycle. Now we need to understand what is requirement and what is scope and deliverable. So when we start talking to stakeholders, they give us a requirement. Yeah, somebody says, "Oh, I'm designing a new car. What do you need in the car? Oh, it should be have a good interiors. Okay, it should have a running capacity. Say I'm designing a solar car. Yeah, it should have a running capacity of a day. It should have a battery which can last for a day. Okay, yeah, it should have maybe enough space to put the material. Yeah, say your luggage, the boot space. So you are collecting all these requirements. So requirement get collected from various stakeholders. And as a business analyst or as a project manager, whatever is the role, we will make a list of the requirements. Now I go to my subject matter experts and says, guys, these are the requirements. How do we solve it? So subject matter experts will say, we will have a car of this design. They will think about deliverable. So they will say what kind of solution, what kind of deliverable can solve these requirements. So they design the deliverable and they define the characteristic of the deliverable. They will say we have a car engine of this characteristics. They will not talk about what all people have asked about car engine. They will define the characteristic of a car engine. They talk about interior, they talk about exterior, and they will design about compliance and they tell the solution. So that's happening, and that is called scope. They are creating a scope and deliverable. Now, I as a project manager get worried. I say, these guys said something, these guys are making something. Let's do a cross checking and mapping that we are taking care of all the requirements. So for that purpose, as a project manager, I maintain a mapping sheet that is called requirement traceability matrix. So I will say, I will put a ID, I will put all requirements there. And then I says, this requirement is taken care in engine. These all set of requirements are taken care in interior. I will tick down. And probably later on, I will also check because when my team is doing testing, when my team is doing validation, I will check it against that, okay, have we done all these things and can it map to the requirement there? Why I'm doing it? Because when I go to customers later on to deliver my deliverable, they will say, we asked you 10 things. Where are those 10 things? I'll say, okay, let me open my sheet and I will show you where are those 10 sheet. That is your requirement traceability matrix. So this is a tool to ensure requirements are really traced till the closure. If some of the requirements cannot be met, you can identify them early and inform them. It also helps us in giving a status to a requirement to the stakeholders. It also ensures that we really do something which is asked by the stakeholder. That is the tool called requirement traceability matrix. More speaking, it is used after creating when we do a validate scope. So when I take the deliverable to the stakeholder for acceptance, for sign off, I will use the requirement traceability matrix to show them how it was done. Yeah, that's the idea. So what is the budget value we need to fix for doing rough order of magnitude? So I know, Noor, you will see different questions, books. They will say the ROM can have a plus minus 75% error. Some places you will say ROM can have 50% plus minus error. Somewhere you say minus 25 to plus 75 error. When I was doing PMP in 2004, I also got confused about this thing. You can say, what is the final range for ROM? The answer is there is no range. Yeah, it is all depend upon your organization and the type of project you are doing. So in your company, if you are doing ROM estimate for one project, they may give you 30 plus percent plus minus. For another project, they may give you 100% plus minus. So depending upon the nature of our work and uncertainty, our organization will have some standard which helps them in doing ROM estimation. Yeah. So if you are talking about error range, that will be the error range which will be coming as a function of it. If I get to know in the exam I say higher range is good. So 50 plus minus And usually you never get these kind of a question, ROM is how much is percentage plus minus, and you have a 25, you have a 20, and you have a 50. In case it has, if by mistake, if someone creates this kind of stupid question and you have to answer it, then select something around plus minus 50. But it is not true. It is something depends upon different situations. Yeah, if I'm doing very predictable project and I do a ROM plus minus 50, my company may get bankrupt. You can say why we have a 10% margin and this guy is saying plus minus 50% ROM. So it will not work. Yeah. So depending, yeah, if I have a very predictable project, very thin margin, my ROM estimate may also be very close to 5% right. Yeah, there's a possibility. So we need to see depending upon our context, but for exam, we understand it might be a big range. So we'll try to make more shots, yeah, for such concept. That's a good idea there. Thank you. Requirement traceability metrics done. How can one effectively gather information for scope discovery? So hopefully you are talking about requirement discovery, not scope discovery. Yeah. So please be a little clear what is scope and what is requirement. Requirement is owned by stakeholders, by the user. Scope and deliverables owned by the subject matter experts who understand and create the learning for it. Yeah. So that's something is there. So that's the idea. Yeah, we can say this is how we should do. Now we focus on how do we collect effective requirements. So many techniques, and none of them are successful, but there are so many techniques. What today's is in a talk taking that you cannot discover requirement effectively. In the agile world, that's our belief. You can only do it by way of revalidating it frequently. So never assume that you can get the right requirement. You only say that I have a requirement which people believe at this point in time is good, but I will run it, validate it, and then only we come to know it was right or wrong. Yeah. So you validate it. So the simple tool for getting the right requirement is frequent validation, frequent demonstration, prototypes, what we use. Now, in general word, we talk about user personas, user journey map, interviews, brainstorming, benchmarking, all these terms you will see in your PMBOK topics or project management topic as you discover. All tools are good, interviews, observations. I like observation a lot, especially in my area of work. Rather than asking people what you need, I better see what they are doing. So doing a user research, look, if you have an established product, then you go with benchmarking. You can say, I'm doing catch-up innovation. There is already a one product and I just need to create a product like this. Then you do a benchmarking against that product. So it depends upon the type of work you are doing, the type of stage you are into your product development, what you have to catch up on, and accordingly you figure out what is the right approach for discovering the requirement. But yeah, the frequent validation helps you in doing the final discovery. Linear model and non-linear model, don't worry Noor that much about PMP exam, for PMP exam, but in a simple word, linear means it goes in a step, like a line graph. Yeah. So you add incrementally, the result will also increase incrementally. Non-linear, you add little bit here, but the result may get increased significantly. That's a non-linear model. Yeah. So like we tell, story points are given in a non-linear manner later on, because we are not saying the increment will be increment directly proportional, they can jump. Yeah, that's a non-linear model. So say that's how, that much is good enough. Yeah, so don't worry too much about it. Linear is easy to predict, easy to know, but when the impact of something is little not linear, little more than linear, we call it non-linear model. But that much is good. Great. Yeah. Hopefully you got the requirement gathering answer right. Yeah. Ola wale. Uh, okay, I am just scrolling if I'm missing something. No. Okay, nice. Okay, I think that was good. Thank you. Thank you all of you for joining in just randomly here and bringing a lot of interesting question. Good to see you, Noor, here. And we meet again next week. So good, and we'll see more short formats as much as possible. Thank you for suggestions. Nice interacting about RTM scopes and what can we do. That's a good question, Rupesh. I was just experimenting today, but I think I want to come up with this frequency soon. Yeah. And I liked this experiment because randomly, if we can have this much conversation, I think if we do a little systematic, it will be more. So let me plan it out. I wish I can do it at least once in a week, but next time I will publish it fast, yeah, not rather than just showing up. Yeah, I will put it on my page. Yeah, we'll put in our community post in advance so that some of you get updates in advance. Yeah. Thank you. And if you have any follow-up question, please put into a comment. I usually reply the comments within 24 hours until unless I'm traveling. So please put your we'll try our best to respond to you. Yeah. Thank you everyone. See you sometime. Yeah. Bye everyone.